The EU has approved implementation of US tariffs under Trump pressure. This honestly really shows Europe still looks far too dependent on the United States at a time when America itself appears to be economically and politically declining. Because increasingly, it feels like America's message to its allies is, if we're struggling economically, you're coming down with us. And Europe keeps allowing itself to get dragged into these situations instead of properly focusing inward and strengthening the EU itself long term. Because look at what China quietly did over the last few decades. China invested heavily into its own banking systems, its own payment systems, its own manufacturing power, its own AI development, its own energy infrastructure, and its own technology sector. China focused on building self-sufficiency. And now, that investment is paying enormous dividends as China rises economically and geopolitically while the West increasingly looks fractured and unstable. Meanwhile, Europe spent decades assuming the old global order would last forever. The EU became heavily dependent on American military protection, American influence, American technology, and American economic leadership. Now suddenly, Washington itself looks uncertain, and Europe seems completely unprepared for the reality of this new multipolar world. Because being famous for luxury cars and old prestige industries is only sustainable for so long. Eventually, you need technological independence, energy resilience, manufacturing strength, digital infrastructure, and long-term strategic planning. And Europe is now realizing it may have fallen badly behind in some of those areas. This tariff story is really symbolic of something much bigger. The old Western alliance no longer feels stable. America increasingly pressures allies instead of leading them. Europe looks reactive instead of proactive. And while the West argues internally, China quietly keeps building. This has been the JR Voice. Stay tuned for more unpacking of global headlines,